Hello and welcome to this edition of Race to Power. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and on the show today we'll be taking a look at the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who seems to be facing another call for early elections. Now, this political bugle was in fact sounded by his rival Benny Gantz. But the question, of course, is, will Netanyahu buckle under pressure and make way for the polls finally? As the political atmosphere heats up in the United States of America, the key battleground states are now in the spotlight. Early numbers are already revealing a name that is in the lead, and it is Donald Trump, or is Joe Biden springing a surprise? But of course, let's start with what is happening in the state of Israel. And this is a question that a lot of people are in fact asking. Are the walls beginning to close in on Benjamin Netanyahu? Now, this question, in fact, stems from the latest statement that's been made by the Israeli War Cabinet member, Benny Gantz. The National Unity Party leader, Benny Gantz, has in fact called for national elections in a televised address. Benny Gantz made the statement in a press conference on Wednesday, where he said that elections were in fact needed to renew the public's faith in the government.
I believe that the Israeli society needs to renew its contract with its leadership, and I think the only way to do it and still maintaining the national effort in fighting Hamas and terrorist group and other security challenges is by having an agreed election date that we have to discuss when and if. And I hope that my political partners and friends, and maybe some rivals as well, will agree to it, because I think it serves all the country and all its sectors in the same time.
Now, these remarks from Benny Gantz, of course, follow months of mass protests that have marred Benjamin Netanyahu's tenure in office. Now, first, it was the judicial overhaul protest all through last year, when thousands upon thousands of Israelis had taken to the streets demonstrating against the government's move to curb judicial independence in Israel. The protests only took a bit of a backseat after Israel declared war on Gaza in October, following the deadly attack by Hamas. And then, of course, the ongoing Israeli operations in the Gaza Strip have triggered a huge global backlash in the course of the last few months, with the latest strike on a humanitarian aid envoy that killed at least about 7 aid workers of the World Central Kitchen has now triggered fresh global condemnation from across the spectrum. Israel's actions in the Gaza Strip have been under spotlight for defying international laws and for committing war crimes against millions of Palestinians who at this moment are being starved. At home as well, the Israelis have been protesting against Benjamin Netanyahu. They're demanding for his resignation, and they're demanding for early elections, as his government has failed to bring back the hostages that had been captured by Hamas almost 6 months ago. The protests have also reflected in several opinion polls as well, which have revealed higher popularity for Benny Gantz, and Benjamin Netanyahu's credibility as a leader seems to have plummeted. However, despite the growing outrage over the Israeli Prime Minister's actions in the past year, Netanyahu has repeatedly rejected calls for stepping down or for holding fresh elections in the state of Israel. But with a critical war cabinet member and the political rival calling for early elections, the question, of course, is this: has Netanyahu, in his own home nation, has he been pushed into a corner? And more importantly, will his political career now come to an end, as he's also facing some very serious charges of corruption? And our correspondent Jody Cohen spoke to a number of Israeli voters to get a more perspective on the electoral battleground and as to what the Israelis actually think about Netanyahu. Listen in.
I don't think it is a good idea to have elections now or in September. I think first we need to win this war, and only then to start talk about political issues. I think it will weaken Israel instead of strengthening it. So I don't think it is a good idea.
I think election need to be in next September. We need to choose new people, new government. I think it will be good for Israel.
We have to do the elections now because we need a change. September is too late. We need a change now.
Let's now shift our attention to the United States of America, where the Republican frontrunner Donald Trump is, of course, leading President Joe Biden. It appears in 6 battleground states for the 2024 U.S. presidential elections. And this is according to a Wall Street Journal poll that cites some serious concerns about economy and also about Biden's performance as the President of the United States. The poll shows that Donald Trump holds a bit of a narrow lead in 6 states. This includes Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina and Pennsylvania. Now, these 7 states account for nearly about 93 electoral votes out of the 270 that is needed to win. The poll percentage is in stark contrast to 2020 when Joe Biden had swept in with a victory. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is also leading in Wisconsin, and it is important to note that the swing state of Wisconsin has played a pivotal role in some of the last few presidential elections. Trump had won the Wisconsin state in 2016, defeating the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton by about 23,000 votes. The turnout was, of course, up for both parties in 2020, but Donald Trump ended up losing Wisconsin to Joe Biden by about 21,000 votes. And it is on track to be, if not the pivotal state, but at least one of the most competitive states across the United States. Donald Trump holds a double-digit lead in every state when voters were asked as to who best can handle the economy and the key question of immigration. However, Joe Biden is viewed as the better candidate on issues such as abortion for women in America. The polling results also mirror the recent concerns over the president's physical fitness due to his advancing age. About 48% of the Americans believe that Donald Trump is perhaps physically fitter and mentally more alert to serve as the president. And only about 28% see the 81-year-old incumbent President Joe Biden as having the mental and the physical faculties to serve another 4-year term in the White House. Now, Turkey's election authority has reinstated the pro-Kurdish mayoral election winner in the country's eastern city of WION. The reversal has come after the annulment of Abdullah Zedan's victory in the mayoral election, and that, of course, has provoked clashes across the country. The Supreme Election Board's move is being viewed as another boost for the Turkish opposition, and it comes after Sunday's local elections, where the main opposition parties in fact managed to retain its hold on local governments in Istanbul and the capital city Ankara.
Our people protected their honor, the honor of its leaders and servants, its will, despite all the attacks. And we gave you a promise of honor on this square. We said, we will not allow these vultures to feed on your honor, your will.
Now, thousands of people took to the streets in Turkey's southeastern city of WION to celebrate the decision.
In the March 31st local elections, even though the DEM party won the election, people's will was taken from them. When it was taken, the people of Van won the struggle with a really strong fight and resistance. Right now, we are very happy, very joyous.
Over the years, the Erdogan administration has removed elected pro-Kurdish mayors from office for alleged links to Kurdish separatists and has replaced them with state-appointed trustees. The British Prime Minister's Conservative Party, it appears, is all set for a heavy defeat when the general elections are held sometime later this year. A seat prediction that's been published on Wednesday shows the opposition Labour Party winning more than 400 seats when the elections are held. Now, in the wake of these developments, Rishi Sunak has said that he's still undecided as to when the next general election will be held. Now, the YouGov model has projected that Rishi Sunak's Conservatives would win only about 155 seats, and the Labour would win about 403 seats. Now, Britain's parliament had about 650 seats, and polls have consistently given the Labour Party a double-digit lead over the Conservatives ahead of an election which Rishi Sunak has said he expects to call in the second half of this year.
I said my working assumption is there'll be an election in the second half of the year, and I'll stick to
So
that.
no
But
June.
ultimately, look, we've got a long-standing tradition. It's the Prime Ministers that decide when we're going to call an election, and I haven't decided because I'm busy focusing on the things that matter to people, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, making sure that we improve the economy, get people's pay packets rising, cutting their taxes, getting illegal
lots of our
migration
readers.
down,
Lots of
improving
our
the
readers
NHS.
have written
that's,
in.
That's the things that I'm focused on delivering for people.
All right, so that is how Rishi Sunak, of course, has defended himself. Now, he's defending his government's pretty contentious bill to deport asylum seekers to Rwanda. He also told the Sun newspaper's political editor Harry Cole that controlling illegal immigration is more important than the United Kingdom's membership of the European Union. The parliamentary elections in India are just weeks away. Campaigning has, of course, gained pace all over the country, and this has come as the Indian Prime Minister has kick-started his poll campaign in the state of Bihar. And this is Narendra Modi's first election meeting in the state since the announcement of the poll schedule. Jamui is set to vote in the first phase of the elections on the 19th of April. Visibly pleased at the huge turnout, the Indian Prime Minister heaped a lot of praise on the allies of the National Democratic Alliance in Bihar. The Bihar State Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, who heads the Janata Dal United Party, shared the stage with the Prime Minister. Meanwhile, the Lok Janshakti Party President Chirag Paswan also expressed gratitude to the Prime Minister for selecting the constituency from the rally where his party is contesting for the polls. While addressing the public meeting, the Prime Minister said that the people of Bihar have in fact decided to help the National Democratic Alliance. And commenting on Bihar's contribution to the country's freedom struggle, the Indian Prime Minister said that the state has in fact given direction to the entire country, but justice, unfortunately, has not been done to the progress of Bihar post-independence. Now, the Indian Prime Minister also took an indirect jibe at the erstwhile Rashtriya Janata Dal Congress alliance and accused them of jungle rule, that is Jungle Raj, during their time in power.
बिहार की धरती पूरे देश को दिशा दिखाने वाली रही है। बिहार की इस धरती ने आजादी की लड़ाई में और स्वतंत्र भारत की नींव मजबूत करने में बहुत बड़ी भूमिका निभाई है। लेकिन दुर्भाग्य से बिहार के सामर्थ्य के साथ आजादी के बाद 5-6 पीढ़ियों के साथ यहां न्याय नहीं हो पाया।
Now, on the other side, the RJD leader Tejasvi Yadav has questioned the Bharatiya Janata Party over the dynasty politics that it is playing ahead of his rally in Bihar. Tejasvi Yadav, in fact, emphasized that the BJP dispensation in Bihar is mostly distributing tickets to family members, giving rise to dynasty politics in Bihar. A day before the mega rally of the Indian Prime Minister, Chirag Paswan-led LJP was dealt with a bit of a blow, as at least about 22 leaders from the primary membership of the party, and according to reports, the surge of resignations points to internal discord within the party, with allegations emerging regarding the sale of tickets. Now, Bihar is dubbed as one of the most influential states in the Lok Sabha. Along with West Bengal and Uttar Pradesh, Bihar will also be voting in all 7 phases of the polling, which begin on the 19th of April and end on the 1st of June. So in about 2 weeks' time from now, India, of course, is heading for the general elections. In the state of Maharashtra, speculation is rife as to who would be fielded from the Mahayuti alliance for the South Mumbai Lok Sabha seat. The Bharatiya Janata Party, or the Eknath Shinde-led Shiv Sena party. WION spoke with Milind Deora, a former Congress leader who's now joined the Shiv Sena over the political situation in the state, and if he will be given the ticket by the ruling alliance to contest the general elections. Listen in to what he had to say.
Well, the plan will obviously be to do our best to campaign to ensure that Mahayuti, which is the alliance in Maharashtra, wins as many seats as possible. Ultimately, I believe that the aim of this alliance and this campaign is to ensure that every seat in Maharashtra, which is the second largest state in terms of number of Lok Sabha seats, every seat goes to strengthen the Prime Minister's hands. In a city like Mumbai, in the last 10 years, we haven't had a single terror attack. That's because of the Prime Minister's policies. That's because of the state government's policies. I've personally witnessed the impact of terror attacks in my own constituency. So all our issues that not just issues that will be put before the people, but I believe these are issues already on the top of people's minds. And that is what we intend to do, to get every seat to the Prime Minister's leadership so that the NDA alliance wins with a big margin and they're able to undertake more reforms to keep India safer, to create more jobs, to encourage economic growth and activity in our country. The Chief Minister is very clear that we have to do whatever we can as a party to ensure that South Mumbai goes to the NDA fold. And ultimately, it is a seat which will strengthen the Prime Minister's hand. It is a prestigious seat. It is an important seat. So whatever the Chief Minister and the Mahayuti needs from me to help deliver South Mumbai for the NDA, I am more than willing to do that. Well, certainly there are disruptions that have happened in Maharashtra from 2019. I think when Uddhav Thackeray decided to break away from a traditional ally and conduct an experiment in Maharashtra, that experiment has led to many further disruptions. And that is what will be tested in this Lok Sabha election. That is what will be tested in the months ahead in the Vidhan Sabha elections. And in a city like Mumbai, in more months ahead in the municipal corporation election. So I'm excited about it because I think it's important for us to know what is the people's will, how the people have responded to what Uddhav Thackeray did in 2019. And I do believe that in the Lok Sabha election, the people of Mumbai and Maharashtra are very clear that they want a strong government, they want a stable government, they want a decisive leader. They want someone who can take India forward, who is well regarded globally. And I don't think they see any alternative on the other side. I think the BJP and the NDA and parties like Shiv Sena that are part of the NDA will do well for many reasons. Our own strength, our own work, and the fact that the country would not want to waste their vote on a fragmented, opportunistic opposition.
So just as India is, of course, heading into its elections, India is also expected to experience some pretty hot weather conditions in the course of the next 2.5 months. And this, of course, coincides with the general elections in which almost about 1 billion Indians are all set to vote in what is going to be the world's biggest democratic exercise over a span of 7 weeks. In India, the election season has expectedly brought in some bit of festivities, enthusiastic audiences to television, passionate debates in every corner of the country, and also hope that the outcome of the elections could change lives and improve lives of people. But in this April till June period, various parts of the country will record 10 to 20 heatwave days in comparison to the normal 4 to 8 days. But officials of the Indian Meteorological Department have said that the anticipated increase in outdoor activities during the polls could actually heighten public vulnerabilities to heat waves.
It is definitely hotter than last year, and the temperature is still going to rise. It will make our lives tough.
In 2023, a total of 252 heat-related deaths were reported in just the first half of the year. And Indian cities are already grappling to prevent this number from increasing further. Vendors in Uttar Pradesh are selling earthen pots, traditionally known to retain the cooler temperature of stored water. Traffic police in India's western state of Gujarat are distributing oral rehydration solution sachets to people who commute under the scorching sun. With the aim of spreading awareness about the impact of heatwave-like conditions, traffic authorities have also implemented blinker mode at several junctions to reduce the waiting time at signals during peak hours of the torrid heat in the afternoon.
We are implementing blinker mode, which will reduce the waiting time at signals from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. in the afternoon at various traffic junctions across Ahmedabad and where there is less traffic congestion. We've identified at least 100 junctions where the signals will be on blinker mode. Apart from that, we are also distributing oral rehydration solution packets in collaboration with Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation at several traffic booths.
Now, if such coping measures are a necessity in the first week of April, they are a sign of worry as we, of course, advance towards peak summers, that is in the month of May. The anxiety over climate change has been expressed by international bodies, scientists and citizens alike, and it should motivate parties across the political spectrum to make their action plans pretty clear. The need of the hour is to enhance public awareness on issues such as climate change and also to clearly define steps to reduce global warming. Political differences in approaching both these questions may persist, but the larger public interest would be served by addressing these issues, thereby giving voters a chance to, of course, assess their views. In fact, in a survey of about 1,600 first-time voters in 7 Indian states, 40% of the respondents expressed deep dissatisfaction with the government's efforts in tackling climate change. Further, the survey has also highlighted a significant gap in climate education, with 59% of the respondents feeling inadequately informed about the causes and the consequences of climate change through their school and college education. Overall, the survey has underscored a growing awareness amongst the first-time voters regarding environmental sustainability. It also shows that it could have some kind of an impact in their political decision-making, especially in these upcoming elections where a large number of people will have to sit in election rallies in this torrid summer heat.
We know climate change is a burning crisis, and even during the elections, the entire process is not very environment friendly because they spend a lot on flights, they spend a lot on transport, PVR cables and everything. So maybe there should be a push towards green elections. I do not think it's going to happen this time, but maybe in the future.
The political parties may thereby wish to spell out the steps that they would undertake to reduce the impact of global warming on India. If India is, of course, looking to find its rightful place in the global order, then its actions on climate change are going to be watched very, very closely. Well, that's all the time we have in this edition of Race to Power. Thanks for watching.
The biggest democratic exercise on the planet ever. Decoding the multiple colors of this multi-dimensional, multi-layered spectacle. WION deciphers the images and the hues. Sifts real performance from rhetoric and noise, claims and counterclaims, populist pitches and hidden truths. Untangling, unraveling this celebration of democracy.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Our pursuit of finding the gems of India's businesses has brought me to India's Silicon Valley, Bengaluru.
Let me walk you through the wall that we have here. Gives you an idea of how we started